Hey guys, welcome, big welcome, warm welcome to my long-term subscribers who've been very loyal, have always made lovely comments and who've been with me since about 2016. Hello to any new subscribers. So you guys, this is an astrology channel, but it's also about seeking for the truth. And that involves talking about who really runs things in this world, i.e. the Illuminati, the cabal. Who are they? And part of this broadcast is naming names. So why I think it's important when we discuss astrology to mention these people is they're very much into astrology. That's why there's always numerology incorporated into the important dates, whether it be false flags or events they hold. They understand the secret science, which is a lot to do with how you can communicate through the ages to the subconscious, or even with to aliens, with the combination of geometry and symbolism. They understand how powerful that is, and that's exactly what astrology is, isn't it? Symbolism and geometry. Big part of it. So as you will know, back in the summer I was talking about how Vanguard and BlackRock pretty much own a little bit of every major company, along with other big private equity firms like T. Rowe Price, State Street, FMC, Fiduciary, and Wellington. And then there's a circular kind of ownership structure where they all own a little bit of each other. But the real shareholdings of Vanguard are secret. But I am able to reveal to you today 6 possible shareholding families for Vanguard. So these are the families which really own the power, not the politicians, not these irrelevant people, not even Klaus Schwab. It's these families behind the power structure. And I'm going to be ripping down the veil and revealing these families. So where I got this information was Dr. Zev Zelenko. You may have seen him recently. He is Orthodox a Jewish doctor, and he came up with one of the protocols involving the stuff you're not really allowed to mention on here, and it involved with treating the disease thing that's going around. He treated President Trump and some of his administration, and he's been doing his due diligence behind a Vanguard. So unsurprisingly, one of the first families, as we see, they are the Rothschilds behind Vanguard, and there they are hanging out with the actress Joanna Lumley, who of course is a big climate activist. He's pushing an agenda there. These old has-been actresses, as you can see, she's shamelessly quaffing her champagne with these douchebags. But something else quite topical, hold on. Just this October, Boris Johnson took a little bit of a break in Marbella. And whose house did he stay at? He stayed at the home of Zach Goldsmith, reportedly, in Marbella. And recently I did a vlog where I showed how powerfully the Goldsmith family, Zach Goldsmith, his brother, his sister, are connected in with the Rothschilds. In fact, both Zach and his brother are married to a Rothschild. So if you wondered how close the link between the Prime Minister and the Rothschilds, there is an example. Plus, apparently Carrie, his very green wife, is big pals with Zach Goldsmith. So maybe this is where we are getting this heavy push towards the green agenda, which was never in the Tory party manifesto. It was part of the Labour manifesto, but Boris surprised us all by suddenly showing his green credentials, and they're having this green climate summit right now in the UK. Kind of sickening, because it's all about really impoverishing and wiping out the middle class, but that's not what it's about. So there you go, the Rothschilds. Now, as you will know, the Rothschilds also strongly linked to the Oppenheimer family. So I would say that this branch is probably all the Rothschilds in terms of their ownership of Vanguard or shareholding of Vanguard might also be linked to the Oppenheimers, like Nicky Oppenheimer, Mary Oppenheimer, former of their father Harry Oppenheimer owned Anglo-American, very influential in the South African minerals industry. Right, so I'd say they are probably connected as well. And when they did a audit of the Federal Reserve over 100 years ago, it was shown that the Rockefellers were the key asset holders or shareholders, the private reserve. And I would imagine the Rockefellers also, the Rothschilds, excuse me, are also very powerful in terms of shareholding in the Bank of International Settlements, which is also a very powerful institution, controlling wealth, driving agendas, etc., etc. Okay, next. Okay, obviously we also have the Rockefellers, and I'm going to do a whole show on them because it's very easy to show that they've influenced things both through the United Nations, through the push for allopathic medicine, through controlling the whole medical industry by funding medical schools in America and throughout the world. Also through media. It's very easy to show all the tentacles of the Rockefellers. They've been in government, they've been advisors to government. It's quite easy to see how the Rockefellers play a role, and they are key shareholders in Vanguard. Going way back when, they were linked to the Rothschilds. They both came out of Germany. Okay, we're next going to look at another family. Now, the DuPont family that come out of France, also heavily connected with the Danish royal family, are so important, actually, not often talked about. That they are so important, they are almost as powerful, or even as powerful as Rothschild and Rockefeller. They can hold their own. They're a little bit separate to those two. And one of their kind of things that they were known for in the past was chemicals, obviously, where they're very active in the chemical automotive industry, like General Motors, etc. Also in the invention of gunpowder. So there's kind of a link to conflict there. Now, what I was interested in is they are based in Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware. If you have a look at many of the governors, congressmen, senators, they were actually DuPonts of Delaware. So they've got a stronghold there. And who is also, doesn't come from Delaware, but he's been in Delaware. He's been the governor of Delaware. Is he the senator? He doesn't know himself, so don't expect me to know. He's the senator of Delaware, isn't he? Joe Biden, of course. So you can imagine he's been, what, 47 years? He's been working out of Delaware in Congress or in the Senate. Probably strongly linked to the DuPonts, right? Joe Biden. So interesting there that there's a link between the DuPonts and the Bidens. If you have a look at connected families, when it comes there to the DuPonts, you also will see that you have the Astor family. So you know I did a show where I chatted about the Astors in relation to the Mandy Rice Davis affair and all that. And they're very powerful both in the UK and America. Some people say they're linked to the Russian Romanov family. But yes, do watch my video where I talked about the comparison between Jeffrey Epstein and that saga to the Mandy Rice Davis scandal, the Profumo affair that happened back in the 60s. Really some stunning similarities there, so do watch that. Also linked to the Roosevelt family. Fancy that, right? And what was Roosevelt? Took America into World War II. Does this mean Biden may take the country into another war? As I say, it's a tenuous link with the gunpowder, DuPont chemicals war, possibly. So maybe, you know, I just sort of immediately made that connection. Gunpowder, Roosevelt, World War II, will Biden be forced to take us into another war since he's so strongly connected to Wilmington, Delaware, and the DuPonts. So, well, I can't say he's linked to the DuPonts. I'm making that link myself. They also link to the Vanderbilt family. That is the family from which Anderson Cooper of CNN comes. Big globalist shill pusher, isn't he? So I think that's what we've got there for the DuPonts. Okay, the next family that we have is, I'm just going to go to that link now. The next powerful family is the Orsini family of Italy, and they go way back. They've counted popes among their ranks, an Italian noble family. They are called the black nobility. Black not as in the color black, but that's what they called the original kind of power-broking families in Italy. I'd say black because black is linked to the planet Saturn, and Saturn is so key to this cult. It's kind of a Saturnian, from which we get maybe Satan, Santa Claus, all the symbolism and the even like the rings around Saturn and the halos that they draw around angels. You get so much symbolism based in the church, in communism, just throughout. The symbolism of Saturn, black, the number 8, reoccurs again and again in their symbolism. So there's a strong link that they have to this planet Saturn, which was sometimes called the old sun or the alternate sun, that they worship. So no wonder they call themselves black rock, black water, black stone. It's always black in the title, isn't it? So this Orsini family, according to this, most of the branches of it, this is Wikipedia I'm looking at here, most of the branches have died out, but I'm thinking that the current monarchos are probably related to the Orsini family. And as you know, recently Princess Beatrice married an Italian, so maybe he's part of the Orsini family, because they're always intermarrying going on. So you've always got to look at who these people choose as partners, because they're bound to be important in some way. So the Orsini family, also important. You can see some of the important figures in this particular family. So I might come back and just talk about Charlene from South Africa, who married Prince Albert of Monaco. I might talk about that briefly. So who's the final family? Well, final family is, let's have a look there. The final family is, of course, the Saxe-Coburgs, the British Royals, British Royal family. They were also linked as a shareholder in the Federal Reserve 100 years ago when the audit was done, and they are definitely shareholders of Vanguard. So they're right up there in this whole system. So we've got Rockefeller, Rothschild, the DuPonts, the Orsini family, the British royal family, and are we missing one? And the Bush family. Now I'm wondering, Bush, where does that fit in? The Bush and the Clintons are totally linked, so they've got to be part of this whole thing. I think they stem from the Russell branch. The Russells are a very powerful branch, powerful Illuminati family. They started the Skull and Bones. They were linked to Harriman, who founded Brown Brothers Harriman, from which Bush Sr. worked. That also is an offshoot of Planned Parenthood, because the Anvil Harriman's mother started Planned Parenthood. So there's a link there between the Bush family, and I think they come from the Russell Group. Russell Group also funded, I think I mentioned Skull and Bones, yeah. And of course, they were pushers of both world wars, Bolshevik Revolution, and Bush pushing wars in Iraq. So the Bush family, very important as well. And then, like I say, the final one is the British royal family, which we know they crop up time and time again as important shareholders there. Now, just to mention, to finish off here, I thought it was kind of strange, because we have Charlene of Monaco, who marries Prince Albert of Monaco. Then we have Charlize Theron, who comes out of nowhere to become a famous Hollywood actress. They both come out of a town, although Charlene was born in Rhodesia, or now Zimbabwe, in Salisbury or Harare, I think. She later moved to Benoni. But what are the odds that these two ladies, South African ladies, both very similar looking, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to tell the difference really if you didn't know them well, tall, blonde, attractive, slim, athletic, both come out of Benoni. Now, Benoni is a modest, smallish satellite town to the east of Johannesburg. It's a neat little town, totally respectable, but certainly maybe lower middle class, nothing affluent. And it just seems to me odd that such similar looking women, both tall and that, similar ages as well, both go on to find such fame and fortune from that little town. And it reminds me of a story I heard that both Yoko Ono, who was actually born in Japan, but she spent her sort of adolescence at a certain town, I think it was in Connecticut, the very same town where Linda Eastman, later McCartney, was born and bred. So funny, those two women who go on to marry the two key Beatles, Paul and John, both spend a significant part of their childhood, one born and bred, in a certain sort of town in, I think it was Connecticut, I'd have to look it up. And here we have these two women, both looking so similar, both going on to, well, obviously Charlize is now working for the Ford Foundation, pushing the whole vaccines going to Africa thing and whatever, very politically active, extremely woke, etc., etc. And then you've got Charlene, who marries into the Monaco royal family. I'm sure they didn't just choose anyone, right? So I know she wanted to run away, didn't she, before her wedding, and they confiscated her passport. I think she was in Nice trying to get back to South Africa. And she's in South Africa now. She's left her twins in Monaco, but she seems very reluctant to go back. She's making any excuse, staying in South Africa, various ear, nose and throat surgeries, etc. So, just talking about the royals, I was reminded of that whole thing of Charlene. I also think back to when the story about Charlize's father being shot. He was drunk and abusive, and there was a fight going on, and her mother shot and killed him. It had happened June the 21st, 1991. Now, I just wondered, would that have made the news? Because living in South Africa at that time, I was a news junkie. Also, with my whole family, they were all into newspapers. No one ever mentioned this. I feel sure it must have made the news, because although South Africa is like full of skit and donna and lots of murder, something like that happening between a kind of middle-class-ish family in Benoni might have made the news, and I just don't remember it. Where was the investigation? Was there some sort of, there must have been an arrest, trial, a hearing? You couldn't just laugh that off, right? So I'm really curious. I'd like to look more into that and see if that really was what it said it was. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed that little recording today. Take care, guys. Much more coming, including something on the Queen, particularly as she's been in the news with her health, and more on the economy.